We are putting reflector satellites in space to shine sunlight onto solar farms after dark. We really are prototyping a new form of energy here. It's like building a new nuclear reactor or something like that. We're here because for some reason people just accept that the sun goes down at night. And there's billions of dollars of solar farms around the world that get absolutely no sunlight after the sun goes down.
He texted me one day being like, I think we can put these mirrors in space and sell the sunlight to solar farms, at which point I was in. I couldn't stop really imagining what it would be like to stand in a sunlight spot that we generated ourselves.
The beam, oh my God. Oh, we got a flash.
We got it. Hell yeah. Let there be light. Hang on, what's that you can smell? Yeah, impractical bullshit. Hi. Thanks to everyone who sent me this in. It's making the news. It's been around for a couple of years, actually. Yeah, this company called Reflect Orbital. Yes, they want to put satellites in space. Yes, they're deadly serious. Yes, they have funding. And they want to reflect sunlight at night, or at dawn and dusk, actually, onto solar farms. So can this work? Yeah, it can. Is it practical? Hell no! It won't take long to run through the calculations on this investment, boondoggle. Let's go. So this one is actually the brainchild of a fellow YouTuber, BenNBuilds here, and he used to make build videos on YouTube. Now he's got this funded startup company, but basically, yeah, they've even done this hot air balloon test here.
I see it, I see it.
You see it? And they put a big reflecting mirror on a hot air balloon.
Beam too.
You see the beam? It works. It works.
We got a flash.
All right, these are very noticeable spikes.
45 watts per square meter. Look at this.
Been standing in a sunbeam, basically right on them.
516 watts per square meter. Look at this at 242 meters distance.
Nobody move at all.
It went from 58 to 120 watts.
Dude, it's literally working. It's literally working. It's literally working. Let there be light. We're gonna be rich.
All right, let's do one more square wave. Let's get that signal to noise ratio.
Oh, you got to get the signal to noise ratio. Come on.
That's not existed before.
Come on.
This is it. We're doing it, man.
We're doing it, man.
The mirror at your panels, Tristan.
Yeah. And look at this. They have an actual power envelope here. Look at this, 300. Although I think they were getting up to like 500 watts. Look at this, a power envelope. Meters like this, and like the density spot of. So this works. And yeah, of course it works. But the question is, can you afford to actually put satellites in space with reflecting mirrors to reflect onto solar farms at dawn and dusk? Oh boy, you already know the answer. My engineering audience already know the answer to this. It's about capture area. So how they want to do this is they want to put a bunch of satellites in sun-synchronous polar orbit to go across the terminator here, which is the part of light and day here, and at dawn and dusk. So they want to put 57 satellites of 10 meters by 10 meters of mylar reflecting material with like a tilt swivel thing, you know, so they can actually program where it's pointed, and they want to put them in a sun-synchronous polar orbit like this. So they're orbiting around this way like this, and because it's a sun-synchronous orbit, the sun is coming in like this. Please excuse the crude of the model, didn't have time to build a scale or paint it. So these mirrors can then tilt to give you, once it's gone like dark, at dusk here, it can actually reflect. There's only a certain angle you can do this at, but they can get extra energy. And also they could get, if they wanted to, they could get extra energy on still the sun side. So, yeah, it's like, in theory, it works, but it's all about practicality. So I'll give them an A for enthusiasm, that's for sure. Let's have a quick look at their website here. Sunlight after dark. The sun is huge. Fusion reactor, blah, blah, blah. 24 trillion times more energy than the Earth needs, etc., etc. So they've put some coin into this coverage map thing. Solar energy at night. I'm Jane Smith. I would like some energy, please. So applications close this October. Limited availability. Delivery begins in 4th quarter 2025. So you can actually order this sunshine now. And once they put the satellites up with the reflecting mylar material, then they'll be able to generate a 5-kilometer diameter spot for 4 minutes. So you can buy it in 4-minute slots of a 5-kilometer diameter sunshine spot. What do you want to use it for? So they've got this interactive map here, and if we zoom in, right, this is a solar array in California here, and so this is like a giant solar farm, and they've got this simulated 5-kilometer spot. So if you're the owner operator of this solar farm here, you can order a 4-minute interval of sunlight like this over your solar array. They can't make it smaller than that, obviously, because you need collimators and it's all sorts of things. It becomes complicated. A 5-kilometer diameter spot over like that. Obviously, you can't have it over like a residential area. You get too many people complaining. But solar farms in the middle of whoop whoop can order 4 minutes extra. Why 4 minutes? Because these satellites, remember, are zipping around the Earth real quick, okay? So, and they have to have active tracking like this to know where the sun is like this and then reflect it into that one spot like that. And you can order either one satellite or presumably you can order multiple ones, but you can only get a 4-minute slot, presumably when it switches over to the next satellite because it's gone out of angle, effective angle range like that. So, yeah, you switch in from one 4-minute satellite, you can buy these 4-minute packets of light. Come on. But there's no doubt this is going to work and you're going to get something out of it. That's the point. How much is something? This isn't anything new. The Russians have actually done this before and deployed a twice the size, actually a 20-meter diameter solar reflector in space. It's the
Znamya
2, and here it is here. It's a 20-meter diameter one. So this is twice as big as what Reflect Orbital are going to do, 10 meters by 10-meter mirror. So this is actually quite a large demonstrator, and it did actually work. How much power did they get out of it? Well, they don't say, but they just mention here, the bright spot has a luminosity equivalent to approximately that of a full moon. Anyone who owns a solar array knows that you can't get jack all out of the energy from a full moon. Just the residual power of your micro inverters or whatever is just going to take more energy than what you're actually receiving. It's naff all. But hey, this Russian project proved that you can put these reflecting mirrors in space and you can actually do a spot on the ground. But as I said, it's all about capture area. So who's behind this? Well, as I said, Ben Nowack here is the co-founder and CEO, and he's from the BenNBuilds YouTube channel here. He was an intern at SpaceX or whatever, and a couple of other things. And then Tristan Semmelhack, co-founder and CTO. He's from Zipline. You remember that drone delivery company that was going to drop things down on the Zipline? So he's behind that. And they've got a chief of staff here, and then a heliostat design engineer. Heliostat is essentially what this is. Heliostat is just a reflecting mirror that just reflects light and focuses it on a spot. They've got an optics modeling engineer from JPL and senior mechanical engineer. So they've got funding and a team behind them, and they've been doing this for quite a few years now. And there's a lot of interviews and things down there. I'll link them in this First Principles podcast where I get a lot of the information here from. Interviews on another channel called S3, and there's another S3 video here. Anyway, I'll link them in, but let's go through the claims and then let's just run the numbers on this turd. Place your bets down below right now. So there's a space.com article here. I'll link it in down below, but they claim that they're going to put up 57 satellites to provide an additional 30 minutes of sunshine to power plants when it's most needed. And when is it most needed? Well, dawn and dusk. Peak periods, the duck curve. Very briefly, what is this duck curve? Well, it's basically a graph of generation, because we've got so much solar now that time on the x-axis here, you can see that during the day when sunshine, we've got all these solar arrays, okay, so you've got over-generation due to all these solar plants. So in general, solar energy is cheap during the day. But once you hit that 5, 6 p.m. and the demand actually goes up, people come home from work, so your generation's going down with your sun setting, but your demand is going up. So therefore, the provider's going to charge a lot more for energy. And it's called a duck curve because it kind of looks like a duck. And it's been changing over time to get more of a trough as people install more solar. And you can actually get real-time prices here. So here's a real-time price for the United States right now. There's that duck curve thing. Once it hits like 6 p.m., the wholesale prices for energy start going up. And energy is priced in dollars per megawatt hour. It's always megawatt hours. So yeah, you can see that around about that time when the sun's setting, the prices go up, and that's the thing that they want to solve. They think that during these peak demand times and when the sun's setting and also when it's coming up, they can sell extra sunshine in 4-minute packets to these solar farms, and that will then they can on-sell that to the customers. Yeah, anyway, that's the idea behind it.
You can pack a 10 meter by 10 meter reflector into something that's about this size. Not even just us that's doing that. It's like NASA ACS-3 solar sail vehicles will be 10 meters by 10 meters. They pack into a 12U Cubesat, which is this big. So, we can go to like a 16U Cubesat and, we'll have no problem launching, thicker material, thicker booms, all of that.
So they claim to be able to fit a 10 meter by 10 meter mylar mirrored array, folded up, of course, inside a 12 unit Cubesat. So once they're unfolded, you use the electronics and the little gyroscopes or whatever it is they're using to move these things, and you can follow the sun and track and hopefully get a fixed spot on the ground. Yeah, it'll work if you get it right. And they claim to be able to generate tens to hundreds of billions of dollars per year in revenue.
And you still have a very large market because there's so many giant solar farms out there. So you're able to serve them, make tons of money, and until the point where you're making like tens to hundreds of billions of dollars a year, you don't need collimators for a while. They're definitely something that we're going to be adding in the future. So it's a piece of technology that we're going to continue to develop, but it's not something that's required for our initial constellation.
And they give the example of being able to sell this extra sunshine at $50 per megawatt hour. They don't say megawatt hour, but that's the industry figure. So that's what I'm sure they're talking about. So the solar farms buy it from them, the extra sunshine, at $50 per megawatt hour. And then the solar farm will on-sell that extra energy to the grid for, $80 per megawatt hour. And everyone makes a profit, in theory.
You can purchase some sunlight at night. You can see how it works. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it again. But we can be pretty sure that you're going to be making power with us. If it costs $50 to buy us and you're able to sell it for $80, it's pretty obvious value. And then, we know on our side that we're making money at those kind of prices.
And they claim they'll be able to make $175,000 in revenue per satellite that they launch over their lifetime.
On the economic side, so we expect to be able to make these satellites for like around $100,000. If you're launching that on Falcon 9 ride shares, it would cost like $150,000 or so per vehicle. But if you kind of do the economics out with Starship's launch costs, you're down in that like $30,000 per vehicle range, which is really crazy. And then with each of those satellites, you're basically able to make like $175,000 per year over the lifetime of the vehicle. At first we're going to be like 10-year life vehicles, and then in the end we expect to want to get up to like 20-year lifespan vehicles.
And they also state that they'll be able to generate about 200 watts per square meter. I don't think so.
Yeah, we have a lot of flexibility on if we want more power or more hours. We're doing a little bit of a blend right now. So it's like, 2 hours at night, 2 hours in the morning, and then, a couple hundred watts per square meter. So at the point where it's like, 200 watts per square meter for 2 hours, it's like 20 or so % more energy for the solar farms that are out there.
DaveCAD time. Please excuse the crudity of the model. Didn't have time to build it, the scale, or to paint it. We've got the sun here. We've got our reflecting mirror here in space, 10 meters by 10 meters. Now, you do get higher solar irradiance in space. In fact, it's about, at the Earth distance from the sun, it's about 1360 watts per square meter. So that's higher than the typical 1,000 you get here on Earth. But you still have to go through the atmosphere. So you're still only going to get your 1,000 watts per square meter once it comes through the atmosphere. Okay, cool. So 10 meters by 10 meters is 100 square meters. Now, this is all about capture area. One satellite that you've paid millions of dollars to put into space only has a capture area of 100 square meters. That means that each satellite is only going to be able to capture 100 kilowatts. But in practice, it's going to be a lot less than this. And Ben actually says this in the video and demonstrates it, how you angle the mirror like this. And, well, the sun coming in, the capture area is actually smaller.
And this one is really fun to figure out. If a mirror is like this, it's very large, but when it goes over at an angle, now it's much smaller in this dimension. So, if the camera is the sunlight, there's a lot less sunlight hitting this now. So you're going to get less power to the ground. So you also need to optimize for where you're pointing and how you're pointing there, because you're going to get less mirror area.
But we're going to completely ignore that. We're going to be very generous and still say you can get 100 kilowatts capture out of your satellite, and you can actually then point that down to the 5 kilometer diameter spot. What does that work out to? Well, a 5 kilometer diameter circle here, which is what they say it's going to be from one satellite. Then 100 kilowatts, that's your capture area, divided by 19.6 million square meters, because that's what your 5 kilometer diameter is, you get 5 milliwatts per square meter. Milliwatts. As I mentioned before, this is completely useless. Just the residual power to run the inverters is going to be more than this, than you capture for 5 milliwatts per square meter of solar panels. And then look at the photo of any solar farm. It's not 100% capture area. So you've got this gigantic 5 kilometer circle, and you're trying to light up this solar farm with a 10 meter by 10 meter mirror. And you think you can make money with this? What? But Dave, there's 57 satellites up there. What if you combine them all? Well, if they're all spread out, you can't really. You might be able to get a couple of them, but you can't really get more than that. But even if you put like 57 all in a line like this, get the confuser out, 5 milliwatts times 57 satellites, 285 milliwatts per square meter. Even if you combined an entire array of 10 meter by 10 meter satellites, you cannot beat the laws of physics, Captain. It's... But hey, even if you had a collimated lens system and you could focus that 100 square meters into a 10 meter by 10 meter, like a 10 meter diameter circle on the ground, you're still only getting an extra 100 square meters of sunlight for your 4-minute period before you have to switch to the next satellite and the next one. So where they get this claim of 200 watts per square meter is beyond me. What, from their balloon test? That doesn't scale up to the atmosphere. When they say it's a 5 kilometer spot, and they say they're putting a 10 meter by 10 meter. Just run the numbers. You're getting milliwatts per square meter, not hundreds of watts. Yet they make the claim of like 200 watts per square meter. It's right there. But hey, it gets worse than this. In the video, they actually specifically say through their simulations, they've done extensive modeling and simulations of this, they talk about that a lot, that the effective maximum utilization they can get from each satellite is basically 13%. So this is their own, effectively what's called in the industry, the capacity figure of a solar farm, which includes all the cloud cover and the seasonal variations and everything else. So this is effectively their own version of that. But in the video, they even say that in practice, they're looking at around about 6%, effectively a utilization factor, so to speak, or a capacity factor. So this is not looking good.
You launch the satellite into space, it's flying over the Earth, like picture us as a satellite. How often is there a solar farm under you that you can serve? That's a pretty big question. And, the Monte Carlo simulation is, just spits out a result for that. With all the solar farms that are out there, it's like 13% of the time you're over a solar farm that you can just serve. And then, you assume like a customer adoption curve, and it's like, okay, it's about 6% of the ones that are large that are likely to buy it. So you can get these numbers pretty easily from that.
Right, so we've got our 100 kilowatt maximum reflected figure because that's only 10 meters by 10 meters. And but due to the angle, you have to reduce that. I'm going to be generous and say 70% you can utilize. So that 100 kilowatts now drops to 70 kilowatts. And then they've got their own utilization factor down here. I'm going to be generous and use their maximum figure of 13%. Okay, not even their own claimed practical figure of 6%. So it's going to be worse than what our numbers here, right? So our 70 kilowatts available now drops to 9.1 kilowatts available. And then, of course, solar panels aren't 100% efficient. So you've got 25% panel efficiency. So you multiply your 9.1 by your 25%, 2.275 kilowatts maximum usable energy. And that's not even taking into account the fact that these solar panels aren't packed tightly on the ground. There's quite a large space in between them, but we'll ignore that, being very generous. So how much energy over a year can one satellite actually give using this 2.275 kilowatts times 24 hours times 365 days a year is around about 20 megawatt hours per year. Sounds like a lot, and it kind of is, until you realize that the sell price in their video, they're using the example of 50, if they can sell it to the solar farm customer at $50 per megawatt hour. 50, the units are the same, megawatt hours, 50 times 20, $1,000 per year revenue. Wah, 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 wah. And once again, they claim a potential income of $175,000 per satellite. This is their own claim for their 10 meter by 10 meter satellite. $175,000. These numbers are crazy. They're off by several, or not one order of magnitude, they're off by several orders of magnitude into fairyland. But then you have to remember, go back to this 5 milliwatts per square meter over here that you're going to generate. Even like all these numbers mean squat if your efficiency of your inverters there with essentially moonlight up there generating milliwatts, or even if it's hundreds of milliwatts per square meter, right? Which is not, but even if it was hundreds of milliwatts per square meter, no solar farm is going to buy this because the efficiency of the converters, it's going to use more power than you're actually generating your 5-kilometer diameter here. And even if the satellites, you've got hundreds of them up there whizzing over, even if they can get like combine, 10 satellites in one, yeah, you go up to 50 milliwatts a square meter. Whoop-de-doo. None of this matters. You're not going to get any revenue at all. No solar farm is going to buy this because it's useless to them. How? How can you not do simple back of the envelope? You can do these calculations in your head, let alone back. You don't even need an envelope. But I know what you're thinking. Dave, no one's going to be dumb enough to invest in this. Well, sorry to tell you, yeah, they are. Look, in 2022, they actually got a seed funding round. Who was dumb enough to invest in this? Well, a company called Climate Capital here. So if you go Reflect down here, you can see that Reflect Orbital harnessing satellites for nighttime power. This is what they don't say how much they invested, but they've got quite a large team with a lot of experience behind them. And that balloon test thing, that wasn't cheap at all. But yeah, they invested in this, and who knows where they're just going to keep raising funds because, all the, they've done, I'll be generous and say, they've done a lot of work on the engineering side of this to actually get this, and I actually have no doubt they've got the ability to launch a 12-unit Cubesat containing a 10 meter by 10 meter mylar thing with a directional thing. It's not cheap, but I'm sure that they can do that. So but yeah, nah. SpaceX charges $275,000 for 50 kilos, and nanoracks cost $90,000 per 1 unit Cubesat. They're using a 12 unit, so they're well over $1 million to launch one of these things. So yeah, they might be able to get a satellite up there. But you can avoid the laws of physics, Captain. Even if they got the whole thing working, 10 meters by 10 meters, a 5-kilometer diameter spot with that capture area of 100 square meters spread out. The energy spreads out over that 5 kilometers, and you're going to end up with milliwatts per square meter, not this couple of hundred watts per square meter that they're talking about. It's just, oh man, do I have to do any more? No, I'm done. Thoughts and comments down below, please. Do they have a snowball's chance in hell of generating any usable energy with this thing? But hey, you can get it up there and working, and good luck to them, I guess. If they suck somebody into funding this thing, hey, hats off. I hope they don't start taking any public funding for this, although I don't know they're funny where Climate Capital gets their money from. I hope it's not some pension fund somewhere. And it's just, no. Anyway, thoughts and comments down below. Catch you next time.